Good afternoon. It's the final right here on Sports Screen Television, and we're right on time for Sport Mattaz, where we take you around the world of sports to bring you the very best of stories as it concerns anything you can just imagine. Before we came in, Tayo and Joel were just arguing about the game between Man City and Liverpool. There's a local palace word we use, beat. And when they say beat, it means defeat. We'll get to see what the second leg will look like in the EPL. But so much to talk about this afternoon in the world of sports. We'll be taking you into the double header of what the Super Eagles training looks like. Yeah, 22 players are right in camp, getting set to hit the ground. It's a double header. We're wishing them the very best. We'll look at that particular team, especially with the inclusion of Taiwo Awoniyi. We'll also take you straight to Ilorin, where the 6th National Sports Festival, 6th National Youth Sports Festival is holding. We'll tell you about what is happening to River Angels and so much more between the world of transfers as it concerns Mbappe. We're not leaving out that which has to do with an ex-international hero. So it's a bumper package this afternoon. My name has not changed. It's still Princewill, Oviesan, and they call me the Duke. My friend Dada is always wondering why the Duke. Someday he will get to know. But I'm not alone in the studio right now. As usual, it's the full package, it's the full house. Just before I came in, I saw Okpe Moru. I think she's just hanging out there. And as usual, a face on this show. On the show this afternoon, Joel Nwakaego is right in here with me. Joel, how are you?
I'm fine. Good afternoon. It's a wet Wednesday, but it's okay.
In some areas?
Yeah, some areas. Lagos as usual. I still want the rain to come in more. I mean, keep the weather kind of calm.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Tayo, I don't understand. Also joining us is Tayo. Olorunsola, how are you?
Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's always a pleasure having you, Tayo and Joel. Gentlemen, so much to talk about. I'm excited that the camp is bubbling, even if, excuse me, there's an undertone to an issue that the press suddenly picked up and it died off. We're talking about the outstanding salaries of Guinea-Bissau for 8 months. That's an issue on its own. Somebody said something in a platform where I belong and says, if you've not collected the salary for 8 months, why are you still on the job? Something juicy must be going on. Well, that's not the issue right now. Let me start with you, Joel. The FIFA World Cup qualifier for Qatar 2022 is on, and there's a double header where the Eagles are right now in camp, and they had their first training this morning.
Well, it's a good one. We're all happy. The Eagles are back to training. So a couple of weeks back, they had their qualifiers for. I mean, they had a game and they won that game, and everybody's happy. The camp is bubbling. The camp is full. So far, so good. The boys they've been living up to expectation in their various clubs in Europe. So we can't expect nothing less than a win.
For you, Tayo, with the quality of players we have in that team, I think by now the Congolese team should just say, let's just go and just feel the tough and go back home. Do you think a massacre is what we should be expecting?
Well, for me, I'm not expecting a massacre because if you go by record, this particular team we are playing with, they have once an African champion, although it was a long time ago, and there are no minnows when it comes to African football. Yeah. So they are going to give us a run for our money. But I see the Eagles picking all the 3 points. But for the Central African Republic, well, we might get to see a whitewash for the Eagles in that encounter.
Let's still come back to the Eagles. We're still within the frame of players invited to the camp. There was an euphoria of joy when the news broke that Taiwo Awoniyi would come in. And suddenly within that same past week, he scored a brace. What pattern of play or what input do you think Awoniyi will bring to bear, considering the fact that a lot of people have clamored for him to be in this particular team?
It's just going to be a good attack because I've always prayed for this guy to come in and play because he has lived up to expectation in his club in Germany. I've been scoring the goals, getting the assists, and I wonder why he leaves such a guy out there. You're not calling him to come and represent his country. But thank God they've listened to us because the media is part of the whole. Inviting players and all that, and he's only going to prove he's a better striker. That's what I think he's going to come in there to do. Also to boost. Make Osimhen a better player, him himself. So, like Tayo said, the South African Republic, they've not been in the Cup of Nations before. It's going to be a massacre. I'm expecting that like 6 or 7.
Tayo sees a different view. But for you, Tayo, let's quickly look at the attacking methodology of the Super Eagles. The impact and the input of Wilfred Ndidi will be highly felt. But with the caliber of Arsenal, we have in that particular front line. Do you think scoring goals will be of ease for the Super Eagles?
Well, for me, the caliber of player we have, and judging from the fact that some of them, they've been in their best of form in their respective club. So I'm expecting them to replicate the form. Because if you look at the likes of Awoni, Einacho, and Osimhen, they've been getting the goals, they've been doing well, making the first team in their respective. And for you to be breaking into the first team in Europe, in top flight clubs, I see no reason why they cannot replicate the form here. So I'm seeing them getting the goal shouldn't be a problem for us.
Okay, let's leave the goal issue. There's still an issue with that team, the goalkeeping department. Okoye is suddenly taking a firm grip on the #1 jersey. Akpe is right in there. For you, it has always been a terrain where the homeboys showcase their prowesses. But for now, it's a thing of the past. Do you think we're getting it right from the goalkeeping angle, Joel?
To me, I don't think we're getting it right because over time, we relied on professional goalkeepers to come in from Europe and do their magic and all that. And so far, so good. I mean, apart from Ezinwa, who else do we have in the country? Joining the national team. We don't have another person. And I think the job has to do with the goalkeeper trainers and also the coaching crew.
The goalkeeper trainer?
Yeah. We have to train a goalkeeper because for God's sake, we had good goalkeepers in the past. We had Ajiboye, we had other players that, even under 17 goalkeeper Udo. But these guys, they don't have clubs in Europe. They're never playing in professional leagues. So
the big question is, you see, this is where I get really the players really come from Europe.
That was why I said, now our coach was supposed to give him the mandate. Look, when you get employed as a coach, they're supposed to tell you, look, you need to pick a home-based Super Eagles, like a Team B. I think we had a dream Team B before, made up of the players from the local league. Yep. But we don't have anything like that anymore. I wonder what's happening. It's quite absurd for me.
Quite absurd. Tyler, before we leave this particular storyline, let me quickly ask you, is a double header. Do you see victory for both sides? Home and away.
Home and away. But for the Congolese encounter, it might be a bit, it was going to be a very tight encounter. But for the Central Republic, I see Ego speaking the 3 point convincingly.
All right, convincingly. When Tyler smiles about an issue, he has the innermost feeling that victory is ascertained. Well, we're just wishing the Super Eagles the very best as they go into this double header. Just don't want to start calculating. It's a tradition with very good weight. Moving on from tradition, going to tradition, let's get straight to Ilorin in Kwara State, Nigeria, where the 6th National Youth Games is holding and the defending champion, Delta State, is actually on the top tier. Good enough, Nwakaego is also from Delta. 6 times they've held this title. Please let go now.
It only shows you the governor is trying. It is a political forum. It also shows the level of, seriousness and the zest when it comes to sports in Nigeria. That's really in the forefront. I don't know about that state, Lagos and Ikiti and all that. But what are you doing with these athletes at the end of the day? Because I know we had a sports festival before the Olympics. And we only saw like 1 or 2 people that went to our sports festival. We saw them in the Olympics. But we have to breed these kids and metamorphose into big-time athletes and take them to the Olympics and for God's sake can win medals. And that tells us we have to register for more and more events too. So it's a good one. The sports festival is kicking up.
Because come Friday, I'm going to strive very hard to get the personal assistant to the governor of Sport Matters, Sam Soje, and I'm also going to get the leader of delegation of the youth team to Ilorin, President of Lucky Sunday. He's also a senior special advisor to the governor in Delta State. But what do you think Delta State is doing right? Holding on to this trophy for the 6th time, from the inception to now, they've not let go.
Yes, just like Joel said, I think it's one of the areas where we expect a lot from the government, because like maybe a couple of weeks ago I was discussing with him and he said there is a particular university in the US. It's basically for sports. So I see no reason why things like this cannot be happening in all the 36 states of the Federation. Because you can see that if you have competition of this magnitude, there is tendency to reduce social vices among the youth. And for Delta State, it shows that they've been doing something right, pumping in the money, encouraging the youth, and you know, with all the juicy package that come with it, that will also spur the athletes. So I think that is one of the reasons why those guys have been doing very well.
All right, we're going to keep a trail on the 6 National Youth Games holding right there in the lorry. We'll bring you who and who had won medals. And like I did say earlier on, I'll do my very best. I'll strive very hard to get the delegation, the leaders of the delegation of the defending champion of the Youth National Games to talk to us and tell us what we're doing right. And maybe other heads of delegation in the lorry, we could get them on Friday or before the game runs out. So that's an assurance. Let's come back to something quite interesting. Right here in Edo State, a pre-season competition came up that saw all the female teams jostling among themselves. And Bayelsa Queens became the eventual champion. But there is a source story that has to do with River Angels. They'll be in the continent representing Nigeria. They've not done too well considering 2 competitions they've been into. All right, I'm going to go on this break. We'll come back. We'll continue with the River Angels story. We'll be right back.
Crystal Palace return to action 6 days on from Monday's draw against Brighton.